Buddy, my name is Adeo. I'm CEO of Decile Group and VC Lab, as well as executive chairman of the Founder Institute. What we're going to be doing today is showing you a venture capital platform that has been purpose-built to run venture capital firms all around the world. And just for a little bit of backstory, while we give a couple people some more time to dial in case they're not in yet, I've actually been thinking and working on this for a long time. So back in 2007, okay, I started something called the Funded. And the Funded was kind of like a two-sided marketplace a little bit, but really focused on entrepreneurs. And it allowed venture capital firms to build their profiles, but mainly it allowed entrepreneurs to rate both venture capital firms and the venture capitalists themselves. That was hugely popular. I was like a 5 minutes or 15 minutes of fame kind of thing, where, you know, I was on the cover of Mad Wired and all this stuff what I realized in that process is that actually, like, obviously there's an imbalance of power, but VCs don't have tools. And I learned it because I would interact with them through email and whatever else to try and get them to update their profiles. Many of them didn't have websites at the time. VC websites are a new thing. They didn't actually have websites as recently as 2007. So I realized what a poor state that market was in. And I launched a venture capital firm a few years later in 2013 to 2015. And in that process, again, I went out and I looked around and I looked at the tools and what people were using. And pretty much venture capital has been running on email and spreadsheets since the 90s. Okay. And when I say 90s, I'm talking early 90s. So there's been like literally no really good innovation in venture capital tools. And what's happened recently is there's a smidge of innovation, right? And what will happen is someone's like, oh, I'll do this one thing that VCs do, and nothing else. So like, I'll help you with deal flow, or I'll help you review a deal, or I'll help you do references or something. And the problem with that, of course, is that then VCs need to build these kind of crazy tech stacks, which involve obviously email, obviously spreadsheet, because if it didn't involve them, it wouldn't be VC. And then they maybe add a CRM. They maybe add an accounting package for the management company. They might add, a back office provider's website. Maybe their law firm has some sort of website, and they kludge this stuff together, and that's called the VC tech stack. And that's how far the industry's come. It's from email and spreadsheet to email and spreadsheet and some other apps. Okay. That's pretty lame. So what we've built with Decile Hub, which is going into version 2 right now, is the venture capital operating system. Okay, it does everything. And I know probably as any developer out there, you're like, well, that does too much, but you kind of need to do it all. And let me show it to you right now. But it does everything you need as a venture capitalist. Now, what I'm going to do is sort of give you a high-level overview, talk about some of the new things, and then deep dive into a few things that I think are particularly cool. So let's get to sharing my screen. Here we go. We got a great turnout. So this is just the opening dashboard. It's not particularly good. We're going to be redoing it. But before I go into, and so you can all get a view of it, I want to show one of the major things that we've done is just simplify the UI. And so before I dive into specifics, let me show the simplified UI. So we moved all of your user controls up to the top right. That's pretty standard from Google. They used to be spaced throughout a couple different areas of the product, but now they're all the top right. If you have different funds or a venture partner in different firms, you can switch between the firms. You can go to the different things like edit your profile, look at your different integrations. We integrate with various email providers so that you can send email natively from yourself within the tool. just moving over, we've added this persistent ask a question. And why we did that is because we've integrated an LLM into the product that can pretty much answer any venture question. So how to do a capital call. And one of the nicer things that we've done about this is it's a slide over. So if you're on a page and you're not sure on what to do, like what does this link do, or what does this term mean, or how do I do this action, you can literally ask the question, and the large language model trained only on our data will answer that question right there without you having to leave the page. And once you're done with the question, you just click off and it goes away, right? So that's a major innovation, because running a venture capital firm and building a successful venture capital fund is difficult. There's a lot of questions you're going to have, and you should be able to get the answer anywhere that you are very easily. And I assure you, we have a database of over 1,000 questions answered by experts that is the only source of answers for that. So it makes it very easy. Most people using the product will do fundraising. So when you move over, fundraising is the first thing in the navigation. And what we've done is we've said, okay, what are like the most important things that most managers are working on in the beginning? And then we ordered the navigation now by that. So fundraising, then closing, obviously super important. Deal flow is, if not first, it's definitely in the top 3, right? But in order to get fundraising and deal flow, you're going to need connectors. These are people that, you know, have networks into LPs or have networks into deals. You want to manage them. Then you're going to manage your team. This is a directory of the different things that the companies and people. Then you're going to have questions. This moved over here with more detail. I'll go into each. We've added a community feature where you can chat with peers from around the world. We've greatly enhanced files. We have a whole back office. You can manage your website, etc. So I'll go through these in a second, but I want to show another big UI addition. We also know you could be looking at something or doing something and be like, oh man, you know, I need to send a pact. I need to send a commitment letter. I need to add an LP. So we created a persistent plus button. You don't have to click it. You just roll over it. And you're like, man, I need to send a pact. So all you do is you go up here, send pact, click it, boom, it's open. Now, I'm going to send it from me. This is just, the reason this is yellow, by the way, is it's just saying this email's not integrated. And if you integrate your email, you'll get better deliverability. But my email is, so boom, I switch it to me, you don't get the warning message, right? So the email's coming from me, it's the send pact, all the variables are there, and all I need to do is enter someone's email address and name. I can either, if they're not in the system, I can paste it. If they are in the system, I can select it and then hit send, and the pact is sent. And by the way, you're back at the page where you were, so you don't even have to leave your pre-existing workflow. So if something comes in or someone texts you and you want to do it, you're like, oh man, I need to add an LP, add a deal, add a connector, add a note on because someone just called and I want to take a note on the meeting, right? So add a note, boom, pop it over, type the person's name, right? Boom. Then I just say, had a great call, right? And then when I add the note, it goes right there and there's formatting abilities. I can delete it, etc. So again, by having this ever-present plus sign, all the things that you can do or need to do as a VC, you can do with one click, really 2, because 1 click to get there, add an LP, maybe you type it in and hit a second click to submit it. So really it's 1 or 2 clicks. And our goal with all the navigation, all of the improvements is that as a VC, you got a lot of stuff to do. You're fundraising, right? Or whatever. And you also have just a billion things coming at you. You know, someone calls, deal status changes, and if there's a valuation update, and we want to make it easier than anything else to do that activity. We want it easier than email, easier than anything. And like to that effect, right? One of the things I'll just show, I'm kind of going out of order, but I'm kind of also excited by how cool some of this stuff is. So you can now drag and drop files, right? Oh man, I got to send someone a file. You just drag it onto any page on the website. It uploads it into a data room, an unfiled data room, and it gives you a link that you can copy, right? And then that's a trackable link. So it takes you to the file you just uploaded, and then it tracks everything. It tracks how long the person looks at each page of the file, if it's a multi-page file, or the page if it's a single page file, shows how far they go in the file, etc. So we've, again, before you'd have to go to like DocSend, you'd have to create a folder, you'd have to upload, click the upload button, you'd have to drag the file, and then you get the shareable link. Our goal, again, is just to say that's stupid. That takes way too long. And then what managers do, what venture capitalists do, is they're like, I'm not going to bother uploading this sensitive file. I'll just drag it in an email. And that's a terrible idea, right? If you're sharing sensitive files, you should never put them in email. Well, now we made it super easy, right? You can just drag it on the screen and not put it in email. But let's go back to the different things that the product does quickly, because I want to show you some cool stuff. So fundraising, closing, deal flow, connectors, recruiting, these are all pipelines, right? Where you're, let's say in the fundraising pipeline, what are you doing? You're managing LPs, right? You might also be sending them commitments, and I'll show you a little bit about all this now. So, it's a classic pipeline with stages. We've added the ability to reorganize stages if you want, to activate or deactivate stages. So that's nice. And so it's a classic system where, let's say you sent an LP a pack, but you might also want to, do some outreach to an LP, et cetera. So there are different stages in a classic pipeline, and you'll have different activities per stage. And I want to talk about that a little bit because, this is a complicated concept in any CRM system, right? Where you have stages and activities in the stage. And we want to make the tool incredibly powerful, but we want to also make it very easy to use. So one of the things that we did is we massively simplified the stages, right? In an older version, in version 1 of Decile Hub, there were lots of stages, right? Because you could have, sent someone a pack, they could have needed to follow up on the pack, they could have looked at the pack, right? And we would have all these different stages. And that made the product intimidating to users, of course, right? But the nice thing is everything's been pre-made for you. But again, it was a little bit too complex in V1. So we just stripped all that back and simplified it. So now there's less than 10 stages in every pipeline. But we've really advanced the stage capabilities. So now you can kind of program the stages. So when you put someone in outreach, maybe you give them a call, then you send them an email, another email. If you get a meeting, you change the stage to meeting. So we put all this stuff in there, and we've even written the emails for you, okay? So you can see the emails. Again, you can select someone in the system, edit the email template. Now, we've created all these email templates for you, and one of the things you'll notice is there's these variables in there. And by the way, if the variable's not been set, it will be red. And now you can just click on it and enter that variable, right? So we have all the emails pre-written. They're very easy to edit. So really all you need to do is go in and make some changes to the email templates to match your style, and this is ready to go. And so back to how that manifests with a specific target like John Smith. So you can see that the next task here is to call the prospect. And so when I click on it, I get that task list that I just saw in the outline for the stage now applied to John. So for example, if I wanted to send John the email introduction, right? Boom, click it, it shows it here, and now it's filled out with John stuff. That's how you changed it. Just click it, enter it, and save. And then you can preview the email, you can send a test email, you can send it to John. And one of the reasons I want to show this is if these are the preset tasks that we've put in for every pipeline, right? We've done the work for you. So when you go in the product, you have the stages, you have the actions, you have the tasks, you have all the logic. And you can add new stuff by stage for everyone, but now you can also add stuff specifically for John. So let's say I want to add something, send a gift, right? I could assign a user to it, right? Maybe I'll ask Sonia to send a gift. I can give it by tomorrow, and then I save it. Right now, you see it's a one-off. So that means it's not part of the template. And send a gift. And again, I can click it. And when I click send a gift, maybe I want to say, you know, send him a notebook, right? Because I want to keep a log of what happened. Mark is complete and it's done, right? So we've added a very powerful system to help you manage your leads, whether they're LPs, etc. And each of these pipelines has that pre-set up for you for whatever the action at hand is. But the pipelines also have special features, right? So in the fundraising pipeline, probably the single most important thing that you need to do as a manager is get interested limited partners to sign a commitment letter. And we've made that, and we call those commitment letters a pack. So you can hit send a pack through here, right? But you can also do it on the plus sign. But packs are a powerful tool, and out of the box, you can just send packs. You don't need to customize anything. However, you may want to customize things, right? So you'll see under the fundraising, there's this packs thing, and here you can manage the packs. So you can look who signed a pact, you can look at the pact itself, right? But what you can also want to do, and let me go back there. You also have pact settings, okay, which you can access here, but you can also access here. So this allows you to set your fund name. There's a stage automation. What happens when someone signs a pact? Well, they go to the closing stage. Who do you want to email once a pact is signed, right? Pacts also generally, the best practice is to provide 3 amounts to invest. Is the minimum 100 and the middle 250 and the max 500? Some people may be pitching larger LPs and they want to make this $1 million or even higher, right? Whatever. And then most users can enter their own information, right? Whatever amount they want to invest. And what's the minimum on that? Do you want no one to go below 100,000, let's say? Then you put that in there. There's also some text, so you can change the stock image and the stock text. And you have the agreement itself. So you can go in and edit even the agreement. So it's very easy to customize the experience that your LP has when going to the pact. And you can easily see it because every instance of Decile Hub has a subdomain. So it will be like your firm name .decilehub.com. And all you need to do is add /pack to the end of the URL, and it takes your LP. So you can just send them your Decile Hub URL with a /pack, and they're taken to this pack page, right? And as I said, you can really customize everything. So you could say, just turn that into welcome, right? We'll save the changes, do new images, whatever you want. And if you reloaded it, now it says welcome. So you can really make this a customized signing experience for your LPs that are coming in. And again, then they can, I'll pick 1 million, they fill out their information. And then one of the other things is right now, because I just went to the generic link, this isn't pre-filled out. But when you send packs through Hub has the first name, last name, and some other information about every prospect. So it pre-populates this form for you. And this is just why integration is better, okay? In the olden days, to do this, you would need DocuSign, you would need a CRM, right? You probably need some link tracking, et cetera, et cetera. And so you would say, okay, I'm going to send an LP something to sign. So I got to get this thing ready in DocuSign, get the custom link from DocuSign, pop that into my CRM, maybe make sure the link was tracked, send it to the LP, like a huge pain in the butt. Now you just, go over here, click, send a pack, and there you go. The template email's written, next click, it's sent, right? And then they go to this customized experience where the fields are pre-filled out. So you don't have to switch between applications and customize the agreement for the LP, blah, 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 blah. It's all done. It's all integrated, right? And that's where you get the massive time savings. And then when they sign it, right, going back up to the LPs, it appears here and it shows how much they're signing for. And then it tallies everything up. It does the percentages. And by the way, speaking of one nice little Easter egg, you click on the expected and it looks at the percentages and it will give you a hard circled and soft circled calculation. And it also determines the probability, right, of what you're going to get based on what you have. All that's done automatically. So there's a lot more I could show about this, right? But I mean, every single fund manager raising capital should be getting commitments. And we've made that process as easy as humanly possible to do, right? Truly, fully customizable, fully integrated, where every commitment coming in is tracked. The probability of those commitments is managed. It will even show you what you'll probably close on based on your probabilities, et cetera. So it's really purpose-built to help you with this. But the other pipelines, and I won't go too much in this because there's a lot of stuff I want to show, are also purpose-built. So let's go over to deal flow for a second. So again, like the other pipeline, you've got a lot of test companies. You've got, and I'll tell you why there are a lot of test companies. And you can, have companies, you can look at them in the classic thing. You can add funding rounds. That's special to companies, right? But another really cool thing that you can do with companies is you can add deal memos. Now, deal memos are one of the most important things in venture capital, but like there's no product or anything out there to do them in the world today because it's a really nuanced thing that only VCs really do. So it's not, I mean, some other private equity firms also do them, but essentially it's to memorialize your thinking and due diligence at the time of investment so that when something is successful or when something fails, you can look back and see how right you were or how wrong you were. Now, venture capital is in the business of backing outliers. And so getting, really understanding your thinking on why this business is going to be an outlier is critical, right? For not only doing the deal now, but looking back in the future. So we've built a whole deal memo system. And it allows you to answer a bunch of questions about the deal. And you really can just answer them, you first of all, you can write we come with pre-populated questions that are, of course, the things that most people ask, but you can make it your own. And then you just fill out the questions and it builds you a deal memo. Another very common thing is that you want to rate the deals on different categories. Like, do these have good founders? Do these have blah, blah, blah? And when you have multiple partners in a firm, one partner's rating can affect the other's partner's rating. So we do blind rating. You only get to see the rating after you rate the company yourself. So if 5 partners have rated the deal and you haven't yet, you don't get to see their rating until you rate, right? And then, here's an example of rating screen. But all this is configurable and it produces a deal memo. And one of the cool things about the system, again, being integrated, right, is it automatically takes the deal memo that you produce and puts it into a secured data room for you. So if you wanted to share that deal memo, let's say with a venture partner or with another partner, and they may not be in Decile Hub, you get the shareable link right here. You just copy it, you paste the shareable link in. Now, since I'm logged in, it's showing me, and they get the deal memo, right, in a secure way that they have to log in to access. And I didn't get to show this before, as I mentioned, though, when you share some of the stuff, you get all the data about how it's shared in our filed area. So let's go to the demo PowerPoint, because that has some views. And it has all the DocSend and all of the other tracking functionality built in, as I alluded to before. And I just want to show you. So it shows you the pages. It shows you the average time per page. It shows you who looked at the file. And it even shows you what that person spent time on. And of course, this person is the only viewer in the demo account. So it matches 1-to-1, but a lot of times there's discrepancies. Like, of course, like a certain LP will look at one page for a really long time, right? And so if you see that, I'm looking at John's views. If you see that this LP looked at a page for a really long time, you might be like, oh, that LP is definitely interested in this subject matter, and you can talk with them about it. Now, one of the interesting things about this as well is that it's fully integrated into everything else. So if someone opens the document, right, you can program what happens in the funnel system. So there's something called stage automations, right? So you get the links, all this stuff. You can click on the stage automation link here. But when you click the stage automation, you can say what the file will do when it's opened, when things are clicked, etc. in the pipeline. So let's say you send someone a pact and you want to know when they open the pact, and not only when they sign it, but also when they open it. So when the pact goes through, the stage automation says when opened, bring them to this stage in the pipeline, or change their probability to 20%. So you can program all that stuff. So we were in deal flow, and I went over a little bit to files, because when you create a deal memo, it automatically saves it in files. Just leaving you with a couple last thoughts about this. So as far as we're aware, we're the only system out there that really takes deal memos seriously. And, as part of that, as I mentioned before, you can configure the entire experience. So if you want to rate teams first, you put them first. You can add things to rate. The questions you ask and answer are all here, right? If you think there are too many, you can delete one, right? Or add one, or reorder them, right? And then in terms of the stage automations I brought up before, let's say you decide that you're going to do a deal, you could move automatically what happens to that in the pipeline. So everything's integrated, right? Again, so when you finish a deal memo, something can automatically happen in the pipeline. versus you writing a deal memo in, let's say, Google Docs, and then going into your pipe drive and updating, finish the deal memo. This will just automatically update the pipeline for you when the deal memo is finished, stuff like that. I want to show a couple other things that are super important and then go to questions. So, you know, staying on deals. So I'll do two more things and then questions. There's a lot more, okay? So I'm just scratching the surface in many ways. So we do build you an automatic website, right, down here. And as part of that, and, you know, I'll open that in a new window, but as part of that, you get the ability to do forms. And so one of the neat things is on the forms, right, you could have a contact system, etc. But what you can also allow people to submit deals. So you could have limited partners come in, but that's general solicitation. So that's only really available for select types of funds worldwide. But you can also have investments come in, right? So here would be like your sample website. All the data is dynamically generated from the system, so you don't have to be updating deals when a new deal is done, stuff like that. It's all automated. But another cool thing, so if we copy this link, you can have a submit your company button. You can also completely customize this form. And when this form is filled out by a portfolio company, right, back to deals, then they automatically go right into your pipeline with all of that information submitted, right? And then you can review it. So you can review the different pieces of information that they submit, etc., and then make a decision whether you want to continue with that opportunity in the pipeline. So we allow for, and you completely build this form. We have a form builder here, which we also use for agreements. And so it could be not required, you can delete it. And that creates the submission form for the company, and that populates your database in the for deals, and it just makes your job like dramatically easier when the company themselves fills out the data. And very soon we're also adding the ability that we're scraping, or in partnership, the information from it's now escaping me, Crunchbase. Thank you. So we have a deal with Crunchbase where we can suck the data in on any company that you enter. So you'll have, or that submits themselves. So you'll have data from the company, data from Crunchbase, and you'll have a very full profile of everyone in your pipeline. Okay, one last thing. I want to talk about the back office for a second. So this is probably the best part of the product, maybe saving the best for last. It's definitely the most unique. So it turns out that it's very, very difficult to build back office software for funds. And one of the reasons is that and you can't use standard accounting systems, because every single person that's part of the fund, from GPs to LPs, venture partners, etc., that especially that participate in the carry, they need to have their own mini general ledger. It's called a capital account. And when you license QuickBooks or whatever, you get one general ledger per company. But with a fund, you could need, in some cases, hundreds of general ledgers, in most cases less than 100, but it's still a lot of general ledgers. So you have to kind of build this from scratch, and no one has succeeded doing this in full yet. Okay, so we have a full back office tool for funds, and it's pretty cool. Like, this is just a dashboard, so you can generate a report, right? Obviously, like, and it will be saved or downloaded. You can do any kind of time. You can look at different things. So that's neat. But what's most interesting, as I mentioned, the capital counts are very tricky, right? So we've done two very tricky things. One, capital counts takes a second to load because there's a lot of them in this demo. And this just shows like how much have they committed, how much has been called, etc. And all the financial stuff on a per person basis. It calculates that in real time. But it allows you to do some really neat things that most software products in the space have not been able to do. Some products can do some of this stuff. Most products or no product can do it all. So capital calls is pretty tricky, right? Because everyone has their own little general ledger. Someone may have paid in too much capital before, someone paid in not enough, and you need to dynamically calculate this in order to do a capital call. And so what was historically done is like you'd had a bank of spreadsheet jockeys, and they would triple check one another until everything's done. Now you just need to hit start a call, pulls everyone in. You can either do it a percentage or amount. I want to call 1.5 million, and it automatically figures out who owes what. So how much do they need to pay in? And you go to the bottom, you add some notes, and you hit start capital call, and it will literally start a process of updating the accounting, mailing all of the LPs, making sure, sending reminders if necessary, putting the wiring instructions into the data room so they're not being sent through email. It does all of that automatically for you, right? So that's a massive time save that hasn't really been able to be done very well. Another interesting thing, and sort of my last point here, is that, and there's a lot in the account, like you can imagine all the different things. There's a lot of stuff, like there's all these different components, but I'll show you one other one that's pretty cool. So when you're doing investing, you want to mark things to market. Actually, I'll show you two other things. You want to mark things to market, right? So you can update the valuation of any company in the system, including your investments, from many different places, including accounting, but also under deals. So you just hit update valuation, shows you the last funding round. You can add a funding round. It could be open or closed, all different kinds of rounds, different kinds of securities. And based on what the kind of security, the fields change, right? And you dynamically update it. So you have a valuation cap with a safe. And the second you add that funding round anywhere in the system, all of the accounting, everything gets updated everywhere in real time, right? So now your IRR gets updated, your TVPI gets updated everywhere. And one of the cool places that I'll end on that it gets updated, and back to the capital accounts section, is that every person in the firm, every LP in the firm, including GPs, have a dashboard. So I can log in as this user to see their dashboard. And so the LPs will see all the funds there, or see all the funds. They do see, because this is in use, all the funds they're invested in here. They can switch between funds, and it gives a little stat. Then they get the data on how the fund is doing. And what's interesting, as I said, is this data gets updated in real time. Okay, so if you update the valuation of a portfolio company, it will, the whole system will be instantly updated. And so the next time your LP logs in, they're going to get a real performance indicator of how the fund is doing. Obviously, they get some stats. They can change the timetable. Another really cool thing is every LP has a folder, and there's a universal folder. And as you drag files into their folder, it shows up in their document feed. So if you want to send a document to an LP, you can email them the secure document, or you just drag it in their folder and it will show up here. And if you drag tax documents in, it will show up in the tax documents area. And right now there's no tax documents, but one of the other cool features is if there are tax documents, there's a button that says send to your accountant, and the LP just clicks that button and can send an email with the tax documents to their accountant. And guess what? Those tax documents are secure, because they're kept in the system, require login, et cetera, et cetera. Again, so now your fund's information is not floating around an email for hackers around the world to readily access and view if they so desire, right? So again, we've done a lot of stuff here. I tried to give a little bit of an overview. If you have questions, do me a favor and ask them in the Q&A. We already have 14 questions. I can go back and show the product to answer them. But so get those questions into the Q&A, and I want to leave you with a thought. This product is free, okay? And it's not, we're not like some free, it's not freemium. It's not here to try, we're not trying to sell your data. Like, your data is your data and the product is free. Our goal is simply that without the best tools, venture capitalists are operating in the dark ages and likely to not grow as an industry, right? We need powerful tools that provide transparency, allow LPs to see how things are really going, allow GPs to see how things are really going, so that this industry can grow and advance and change the world for the better. It is an obtuse industry run on, early internet tools that needs modernization, right? And we're gonna do it. We're gonna bring venture capital into 2023 and beyond. Finally, right? All right, so Niels, pop on. Let's go through some questions and upvote questions as well with the thumb, and that will get us to answer them first.
Yep, most upvoted question is from Andres. He's asking, several of us are working on different languages. Will we have the functionality to choose different email templates within the same stage?
Yeah, so just rewrite the templates. And I'll even, since we're in this, what I can do here is for a lot of these questions, I'll just also show how. So all your, in any pipeline, right, you'll see LP emails, just click on that. It takes you, it shows you all the LP emails. You can click on the LP email, you can pick who it's from, and you can edit it. Just change it into your language like that. Boom. I saw that there's a question in the chat. Put questions in Q&A. We're not going to be monitoring the chat for questions, but I did see that question swing by. Someone was asking, is there import export? Yes. So every pipeline, import export, everything can be imported and exported. So you can choose a file to import it, or you can export your entire pipeline notes, everything as you need. So again, we're not in the lock-in business. We're not in the business of trying to keep your data. We're not in the business of monetizing your data. Your data is your data. You can delete the hub instance. You can export the data. You can import data. You could delete an entire pipeline. We're here to help you be the best version you can be. And we build the product in conjunction with managers. So managers say, I want this, and then we build it.
Okay, we may need to go rapid fire. We have an existing website with forms. Yeah, she's asking, with forms, I assume we can insert scripts and have the
Yeah, there's no scripts. You just link to the form. And so if you say, hey, submit your company, there's a link. When you click the link, it just goes to the page. That's the submit your company page. Could be put in a frame, but it also is just like kind of looks like a standalone submit your company form.
PR thinks our product is awesome and is asking if they will have lifetime access.
Yes. So the product's always going to be free. At some point, there are things that we pay for, right? And so those things will not be free. And if you're not in VC Lab, we'll probably also charge for it as well. So there'll be things in the product that we have to pay for or that require lots of money and effort on our time, and we're going to charge for those. And then right now, so far, we haven't had much of that. So the product will always be free. At some point, there'll be pieces you pay for it. And it's really at this point only for people in VC Lab.
Do we have an API that integrates with other platforms?
Yes, so so right now, obviously, we integrate with Google and Microsoft. We're doing some Zapier stuff potentially, but like Zapier is not a way to run a VC firm, but so many VC firms already use Zapier, but it's a really bad idea. So we have to do it, but we don't think it's a good idea. We're going to do something with SendGrid so you can do a newsletter. So there is an API, and there are integrations, and more integrations are coming.
Can we create a person-specific packed link while we have a new email open?
No, unfortunately, but I'll show you how you create that's a good idea, John. So I'll share the screen and show you how to do a person-specific pack link, since this might be useful to other people. So going back to fundraising, you're going to go back to packs, and you're going to go back to settings. Maybe not the most obvious. Sorry about that, guys. We're trying to make everything obvious. This one's not the most obvious, but here is generate custom pack link. Niels, can you take a note and post it in the Hub channel that generate custom pack link should probably be under manage LPs, because it's a slide over anyway. So you could make it for Adeo, and then you can pick the person, right? And then you can pick custom amounts, and then it will give you that link down here that you will put in the email. So that's how you generate a custom pack link for an individual. And admittedly, that link is that link placement is buried. So Niels will take a note and we'll fix it.
Yep. Done that. If you're using an older version of Decile Hub, how do we get the new version? I think that's a misconception.
Very good question. At the top of the web page, there should be a banner that says, would you like to switch to the new version? If you close that banner without reading it, maybe log back in, it should be there. And you click the link in the banner, it will switch you to the new version.
Can you eliminate a section in a pack, say if you don't want the minimum to show, so that there's no floor?
Not now. There's a low, medium, and high. And look, I've tested this. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have someone that you know is going to come in at $1 million. You can set the minimum at $1 million and do 1, 5, and 2. Just from a psychology perspective and many other reasons, and we've tested this ad nauseum, having multiple choices for an incoming LP increases conversion dramatically. There's a question, is this only for VC Lab members? Yes, this right now, the only way to get this is being in VC Lab.
Is there any way to undo any changes you make to questions or stages if you hit something by mistake?
We don't delete stuff, so you could write in support, and there's a support channel. There's in the new communications section, and you can just write in, hey, I deleted this. So when you delete something, I think there's a purge time, but we actually just change its flag to deleted, so you can undo that delete for some period of time for this very purpose.
Mike asks, are the capital calls able to automatically adjust if an investor joins after the first close?
Everything is, all the fund accounting is, so we had the lead fund controller for Carta join us, as well as some other top fund accounting people. The head of treasury of Sequoia works with us and is our head of treasury. So our fund accounting is excellent. And yes, the capital call tool makes, there are always situations that are complicated in these things because someone might have special terms or something like that. But unless something's really unusual, certainly the circumstance you described is accounted for by the capital call tool right now and works fine.
Speaking of possibly difficult situation. How do you manage when you have many recipients for different purposes in the same LP?
So you generally speaking, you're not going to do 6 things at once with LPs as a manager. You're not going to send them a report, do a capital, blah, blah. So you as a manager kind of strategically think sequentially what you do is, oh, I need to send them a report now, then I'll do a capital call in 2 weeks. So it can do them all at once, right? But that would be a terrible experience for you and a terrible experience for the LP. So most managers stagger them out anyway, but the tool can do them all at once. You just wouldn't do them all at once as a manager.
Okay, we have a ton of questions and not a ton of time left.
All right, why don't we, guys, stop asking questions? Do me a favor, upvote questions because we got a few minutes left. So the fund accounting right now is in GAAP. You can integrate your the startup submission form into any website, right? It's just a link, so you can put the link there. Cohort 13 will get invitation codes a couple weeks after the program starts, because we weed out anyone that's not serious in the first 2 weeks. Then we give the tech out. When you integrate with Google and you send an email, it saves a copy of that email in your Google account. It's also saved in the activity, and I can show this quickly. So every lead has an activity, right? And so if you go back to LPs, let's go to Mike. Well, I think I showed, so you have an activity, right? I added a note, we sent them an email, and you could see the email that was sent. By the way, if there are links in the email and the person clicks the links, it will also show you that the links are clicked. So everything is tracked in Hub, but it's also mirrored in the newsletter stuff. We're rolling out newsletters right now by integrating with SendGrid so that you can have sending, but it does not integrate with third-party newsletters. You just would have to export to the newsletter and send. But we have a very good emailing tool, so we're just gonna do newsletters now. Is there a manual? No, we're trying to make it so intuitive that you don't need a manual. But as you can see, it's a little bit complicated because running a venture fund is complicated. But our goal is to make the software to run the fund as easy as possible. Now, we got to end on time, everybody. So I'm going to leave you with a thought. For those of you in the program, etc., there are drop-ins almost weekly with Travis and or Robert, and they'll help you with the product, answer questions, show you new features, stuff like that. We're dropping new features all the time. In fact, I'm pretty sure I got a couple 500 errors due to features being pushed frequently. And the managers using the product tell us what to build. So they say, like John uses the product, said, hey, how do you customize a pack? I'm like, this should be easier. So we're going to fix that. It's going to get fixed really soon. So we're moving really fast to make this the leading platform to run a firm. And we're only making it available to VC Lab people because, look, we're trying to make venture capital into an ethical place to build firms and help companies. And we want ethical managers to win. So we're going to stack the deck so they have the best tools, the best advice, real-time help, and everything else so that ethical managers win. And not just by a little. You can see who else has LPs. You can share information on deals. This will make the ethical managers outperform other managers by a wide margin, and that's our goal. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye, guys.